Hey everyone, it's Book Crazy Katie, and today's video is my Pinocchio review, and please check me out on social media at the following. Hey everyone, it's Book Crazy Katie, and today's video is a review on Pinocchio. If you've seen the Disney movie, you'll see the very essentials of what makes Pinocchio in this book, but let me tell you, it's very different. They're both endearing, and they're both enduring stories, but I feel like even though the Disney version has some dark elements, especially compared to like cartoon movies of today, I feel like it's a lot more lighthearted than Pinocchio the book is. However, I definitely enjoyed the book. I gave it a 5 stars. I maybe slightly less, but I think 5 stars sits well with me, even if there's like minor little things that kind of bug me about it. One of the things is there's times that the adventures kind of just seem like they went on and on and on. And the other thing is like Pinocchio does not learn very quickly. Like there's things that took he kept on swearing he'd do better and stuff. But let me back up real quick. For those of you not familiar with Pinocchio, Pinocchio is a puppet, and he has a father, and he's supposed to go to school and be a good boy, but he gets distracted from what he's supposed to do many times, or at times he just outright refuses to do the things that are asked of him too, because he's too good for that, and he thinks he deserves better, or should get exactly what he wants for nothing at all. And so you pretty much get this puppet that doesn't follow his father's directions, and then doesn't follow other people's instructions for him, and just struggles with being good and being obedient. And that's really at the heart of the story here. There's a lot of comments made later on in the book that relate to work and stuff, and hard work and good work being essential values that people should have, and that you can't really trust those that don't want to work and are too lazy for their stuff. And Pinocchio really struggles with learning to work for what he wants to have in life and what he needs in life, and instead he just expects to be handed it, or find ways to get rich quickly, or to get things he needs without having to do anything for it. And the other big theme I'd say this book has, besides needing to listen, obey rules and stuff, is another big thing is maybe not being so selfish and being more caring towards others. And that is also something that Pinocchio struggles with. He's very selfish. He thinks about his needs. There's a scene or a couple things early on in the book where Pinocchio's hungry, and Geppetto gives Pinocchio all 3 pears that he was going to eat because Pinocchio's hungry, so he goes and starves himself so his child could eat. And Pinocchio complains that it's only pears, and that he doesn't want the skin on it, and he doesn't want the core, and then he eats all the pears without that stuff, and then he realizes he's still hungry, and Geppetto's like, well, the only other things I have to offer you are the skin and the core. And so after that, Pinocchio eats the skin, and then he eats the core. But it's pretty good. And so he struggles with that whole being selfish thing and thinking of others, and sometimes even when it comes to needing to follow the rules and stuff, he tends to be a little selfish, because if he just would have gone to school, He would have saved himself a lot of trouble. He would have saved Geppetto a lot of trouble. He got Geppetto in, tough circumstance because Geppetto went looking for his son. And so, Pinocchio really had to suffer for a lot of the book and then come full circle and realize that, taking care of those he cares for and that care for him is something that should be, on his list of things. And if you grew up, watching the movie, I feel like the movie does a lot more to, play on Pinocchio's conscience. And, there are things where Pinocchio's nose grows because he lies and, lying isn't a good thing. But I don't feel like in this book it's the big central theme of the book. I think that just falls more into being a good boy and obedient, is obedient boys aren't going to be lying to their parents. They're not going to be lying to their teachers and whatnot. So, I feel like that is something that's in here. So, Jiminy Cricket does not exist in this book. There is a talking cricket, and he does offer words of advice to Pinocchio in a few situations in the book, but he is not throughout the whole book, and he does not have a name, and he sounds like things that he mentors Pinocchio on aren't nearly to the degree that he mentors Pinocchio on in the movie. So no Jiminy Cricket. The Blue Fairy, the lady that turns him into a real boy, plays a much bigger role in this book. There's many things she does throughout the book, and she changes forms throughout the book. She was a little girl, and then can't remember, she became a lady and a few different animals, I want to say. She might have been a dolphin or something at some point. But she changes forms. Pinocchio grows to love her like a mother and keeps on promising her that he'll do better. And I think one of the points he kept on missing, because, she'd be given, oh, you need to, follow the rules, you need to go to school, you need to do this. And Pinocchio would always be I will, starting tomorrow, or starting this very moment, or starting later today, I'll do better. And there were times that he'd do better, and he'd do better for a while. There were 2 times he almost got turned into a real boy, and then he went and messed it up. And one of the times he did that was actually a lot later in the book than I feel like it happens in the movie, but he goes off, and he ends up going to that, town or whatever with all the boys where, they just get to have fun all day long and all night long and all the time because there's no adults telling them what to do. And then they turn into donkeys. But where they turn into donkeys, and he was going to become a boy the very next day. And, he just ignored that and went off with other boys, and he had been told not to hang out with the boys that don't follow rules and do well because they're gonna lead him astray. And sure enough, he got led astray and ended up spending a lot of time, taking a whole nother year or something to become a real boy. But I lost my train of thought. But things happen in a little different order. There's no whale in Pinocchio the book. Instead, it's a giant dogfish. And so there's just, very varying differences between this and the movie. But, you'll notice it both. This has a little bit more violent tendencies. Pinocchio is very violent. Even before he's carved into a puppet, he's pretty violent. And causes bodily harm towards a carpenter, I want to say the guy was. And Carpenter and Geppetto, the carpenter and the Geppetto, or woodcutter and Geppetto, whatever his profession was, get in a fight. and then they're like best friends, and then they get in another fight like in the second chapter of the book. It starts out pretty violent, but I'd say it's still like suitable for kids, and it's really good. There's definitely a lot of character growth. It does happen a little slow at times, and so sometimes it got a little repetitive where it's like, why don't you learn? Oh, I remember where I was going before. So, Pinocchio, like, keeps on saying, okay, I'm gonna be good, and sometimes he'd do it for a little bit. And I think, like, the real moral of this story is Pinocchio needed to try to be good and, like, want to be good. Like, he didn't have to be perfect 100% of the time. It's just that he had to have, like, the want and desire to do it, you know? And, like, it does come full circle. He does a few selfless acts for other people. And at the end, he does, you know, at the end, he does a couple things that he shows that he cares about both his parents and sacrifices a little bit of himself in order to make things easier on his parents. And he finally gets his wish to be a real boy and is reunited with his family. I don't want to say how it goes. I don't feel too bad saying what I've said because, like, they're kind of spoilery, but at the same time, it's of a story that's very well known, even if, like, it is slightly different in this version than it is in the Disney. By the way, I didn't talk about how, like, beautiful this edition is. I really like it. Inside has polka dots. And then here's a sample of, like, some of the art that exists inside it. And I hope that's focusing. Otherwise, and then I want to show you the chapter, like, setup. And there's the chapter. The one thing I didn't like about this edition, and I don't know if all the Barnes & Noble editions of books are like this, but it shows, like, the year this edition was published, which was 2016. And nowhere on that page does it show, like, the original year that the book came out or was published or whatever. And I think when I looked it up, it said, like, 1888. So, don't stand by that, but it's a classic. It's, like, 101 years older than I am, so it's about 132 years old, if that's the factual date to go off of. But it's pretty great. I think it's up there for me with Wizard of Oz and Peter Pan and Anne of Green Gables. I'd say I really enjoyed those children's classics and this one as well. I'm gonna keep it. Maybe if I have children, I'll probably pass this on to them. I might wait a little longer on this than I would with the other three. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and see you next time. Bye!